G'day and welcome to the Game Day Squad Fantasy Cricket Show. I'm Stu, that's Dill, and that's Haz, and we're the Fantasy Bros. Back with another live Oz Cricket preview. As always, thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching live or catching up with us for the replay. Today we'll be previewing the round 13 matchups. So if anyone's joining live with us, have any start-sit questions or any info about the weather that could curtail this round quite quickly, please let us know in the comments section and we'll do what we can. Well, boys, week 12 was pretty season defining. If we think about it, we had a lot of the Aussie Test lads returning to their respective franchises, and that instantly brought about a whole heap of class and experience to the competition. That was led by Usman Khawaja's fantastic knock for the Heat, who just 2 days before had signalled his retirement and played his last match for the in Test cricket. So that just showed us how much the Aussie boys love playing for their home teams and really turning it on. You know, Alex Carey last night was fantastic as well, continuing his red hot Ashes form. So, look, no doubt coaches will be looking to target a lot of these Aussie players returning to their franchises. But the round also disappointing. We had more rain in Sydney, and there are a lot of coaches left short, including myself, due to a couple of players played in that rained out match. Anyway, before we preview the round 13 fixtures, guys, did you manage to avoid the weather and did you have some success in the previous two rounds? Let's start with you, Dill.
Yeah, g'day Stu, Haz, and everyone tuning in. Before I talk about my dismal round 12 and round 11, look, I just want to shout out, Izzy was the first one here to comment. G'day, Izzy. Hey, legends. Look, I said to the boys before we went live that I would give a card away to whoever commented first. So, Izzy, congratulations, mate. You've got yourself either a plat Uzi Khawaja or a gold. So just hit me up over on Discord and let me know, mate. Well done. Thank you for joining us. Izzy Khawaja, there we go. We've also got Mel, as always. Hello, champions. G'day, Mel. And she's asking the important questions. Do we just sit the entire game tonight? Off air, we were talking about that just before, and no doubt we will get to that as we progress through the show. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Yeah, look, I went against my own advice, actually, and I played a couple of sixes and canes, even though that rain threatened, and I was a little bit strategic with that. I'm obviously down the ranks a little bit from where I would like to be because of some pretty horrible decisions earlier in the season. So I took a bit of a risk to try and move up the overall rankings, knowing that a lot of coaches would avoid that game completely. Knowing there was rain around, they would just take all the sixes and Canes players out. So I did roll out a Steve Smith and a Jedward's in my team. And obviously Smithy started off quite well, and I was hoping he was going to ton up and have a massive score and make that a really good pot option. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off. So I finished just outside the top 20 in all the comps. And unfortunately for me, I'm out of the prize card territory now. So really my focus is just trying to finish inside that top 10 in a couple of comps, because there's still some really good prizes for those top 10 in the competitions outside of that prize card territory. So I'm going to need some big pods. So tonight I'm going to have a little bit of a chat about a couple of pods potentially, and I might play them in a couple of comps and hope that I move up the ranks. But look, I know a couple of the Fantasy Bros had some really good success over the last couple of rounds. Haz, how did you go, mate?
Yeah, g'day Stu, g'day Dill, and everyone tuning in. We'll go back to round 11 first. Round 11, I had a best result of 37th in Challenger. Round 12, had a bit more success. Came 10th in Contender. Was a bit annoyed at myself. I was at the Heat game and I took Matt Renshaw out of that side and Contender at the very last minute for Steve Smith, and then proceeded to change Steve Smith to Finn Allen. So there was a couple of last minute changes going on there. If I played Renshaw, I probably would have finished in the top 5, but that's all right. In Challenger, I did manage to play Matt Renshaw and I got a second for the week. So very stoked with that finish. So that is now my best finish for the season so far from a weekly standpoint. That moved me up from 22nd in the seasonal rankings to 12th. So pretty big jump there, which I've now really got my eyes set on that top 10 finish in Challenger, which would be pretty happy with that for the first time playing Challenger. If I can finish top 10, I'd be pretty stoked with the season. What about you, Stu?
Yeah, unreal by you, Haz. Well done, mate. I reckon you would have been a little bit upset seeing Renshaw absolutely kill it when you were sitting there in the grandstands, but still quietly fist pumping given you were a Heat supporter. But the Finn Allen explosiveness last night and a late catch or two would probably okay for you, and a big reason why you finished so high. So well done. Yeah, look, my round 11, not so great. Best finish, I think, 18th in Challenger. And I had 4 players across my best 2 teams not playing, obviously, in that Sydney game. The first time I tried to roll out a Steve Smith prize card. It looked great for 5 overs. Could have done anything. But that all turned to nothing, and he ended up with a 0, obviously, and 2 big holes in that team. Still finished 7th in champion thanks to a late surge. I had probably 6 or 7 Adelaide and Scorchers players, headlined by Alex Carey, who was just outstanding, and David Payne got a few cheap wickets late on in that match, which was excellent. So 7th overall there, 5th overall, I think, in terms of season long. So where I want to be. But yeah, we got into the pointy end, and things are getting a lot tougher, particularly now that weather is starting to play a big role. And I don't think I'm going to take any risks anymore if there's much weather on the radar. Anyway, enough of that. What's happening in tonight's show, mate?
So as always, our live preview shows will break down all the upcoming Big Bash fixtures for the round. We will break down all the round 13 matchups in this show and discuss our top picks across the keeper, batsman, all-rounder and bowler positions. We'll also share the Fantasy Bros consensus team for the round so you can see exactly who we're planning to roll out in our lineups. Bro-down Showdown will also continue, where you, the viewers, can win some handy cards for your Oz cricket teams simply by tuning in and letting us know who you think will prevail each week. If you are tuning in for the first time and you are a new user, you can still sign up to GameDay Squad using the promo code SUMMER, SUMMER, in all capital letters, to get 3 player common packs, as well as a whole heap of bronze cards to get your free-to-play starter team rolling for the last couple of rounds. Stu, we do have a lot to get through before the first bowl. Well, first ball is potentially bowled for tonight. I guess we'll wait and see on the weather in roughly an hour's time. So shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's absolutely do it. And just a reminder, anyone in the comments, any weather information. I know Mel's texting some friends in Sydney. Hopefully they're not fibbing. But if we can get some good information in the chat, that would be fantastic. Righto, everyone. Fixtures for round 13 on screen, headlined by the Thunder and the Renegades, which takes place this evening. As we mentioned, there was a 55% chance of rain, I believe, from midday onwards. So it's a bit of the old toss a coin, 50% yes, 50% no. We'll see what that's looking like, a little bit closer to the bat flip, and then a little bit closer to the first ball. In terms of all player points at NG, really interesting that players are averaging 39.4, which is actually the most in the entire competition. So really, we want to be looking at putting some players into this game. Ideally, if it was a good game, but with the weather conditions around, it obviously may not be as conducive to point scoring. But yeah, if we had a perfect game, we could have targeted this game, but unfortunately, I don't think that will be the case for most coaches that want to play it safe. First innings batters are averaging 33 GDS points, slightly ahead of second innings batsmen, averaging just the 25 GDS points. And last season, the Gades allowed all Thunder players to 39, whereas the Thunder restricted the Gades players to 28 GDS points. So make of that what you will. Tomorrow, we head to the MCG, and wouldn't you know it, there's a bit of rain expected tomorrow evening as well. So we won't just be looking at tonight's forecast. We'll be looking at the next 2 nights as well, because there is definitely a chance of rain. It's not clear skies for the next two matches. But tomorrow night at the MCG, key venue stats, pretty similar, 35.8 GDS points. So pretty high there in terms of what players are able to get out during the games at the MCG. Really even between the first and second batters, 22.5 versus 23.5. And since last season, the Strikers have allowed an average of 35 points to Stars players, and the Stars have limited Strikers to 33 points. So if we get a full match tomorrow evening, I could see this being pretty even and pretty good for fantasy point scoring as well. Game 3 and the final game of the round, we head down to Ninja Stadium on Wednesday evening. Yep, you can see the rain cloud there on screen for those watching it live. There is a bit of rain, obviously a couple of nights away. Anything can happen with that weather prediction, but you need to keep an eye on that tomorrow night. If the weather down in Hobart gets a lot worse, then maybe you cram a few more players into that Stars game tomorrow evening. So yeah, what a round this one's going to be, guys. Really similar in terms of GDS average points, 38 down there at Ninja, pretty conducive to batsmen and bowlers. Bats are averaging 28 in both innings. And last season, both teams allowed 38 points to one another. So it looks really, really similar here. We know that the Heat can score plenty of runs at home. That might be a different story away from home. And obviously the Hurricanes are pretty red hot. Mitchy Owen, is he finding some form? Is he going to be more consistent? We'll see. Based on all that information, though, Dill, I'll throw it over to you. Is there anything that stands out to you that you want to target? You can share with our viewers.
Yeah, I continue to say it, and I said it last night in the Discord, that I think the biggest thing for me that stands out is that Australian cricket venues just need a retractable roof, and I think Cricket Australia need to put in whatever money that they can to try and make that happen, so that they can recoup some of that money that they've lost over the years. But no, look, in terms of those stats, I think the big one is if this game goes ahead tonight, obviously down at NG, the most points in the competition so far have been had there, and it's the first innings that I'll be looking at targeting. Hopefully there's a couple of Renegades players, batsmen particularly, that both Haz and I are pretty keen on, you as well, Stu, and potentially if they can bat first, then there'll definitely be some options for us going into that match. If the rain does come, and it comes for all three matches, remember that if it's a rained out round and there are no results, then all of that prize money gets tacked on to the end of the season in round 17, which is the grand final of the Big Bash. So plenty of opportunity still to win some unreal prizes, and everyone will be in the same boat if that's the case. But there's plenty of strategy, I think, around what could happen based on the next 3 days. So let's jump into our preview, and then we might chat some strategy as we go as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Surely we don't have 3 games rained out this round, but wouldn't that be good for the end of season? We got Janeth on board as well. G'day, lads. Hopefully the game goes ahead tonight. Absolutely. Any night without cricket on the TV is not a good night during the summer, so fingers crossed. On screen, we can see the top 5 averaging players that are taking the field this round. For our audio listeners, we've got Uzi Khawaja straight to the top of that list with a 99-point average. Alex Carey just behind him on 90. Sammy Harper, he just continues to get it done with an average of 72. Matt Renshaw, 63. And my man, Nikal Chowdhury, going along pretty nicely despite really coming in at probably 5, which isn't typically ideal, but he's still getting the job done, where we were going to see Tim David before that injury. So maybe my Tim David shout at the start of the season has a big asterisk next to it, given how good Chowdhury's going in that sort of similar spot. Anyway, let's start with the individual previews. Haz, you targeting anyone on screen there? If so, why?
I am targeting Alex Carey. He is on screen. He shapes as a really strong option again this round. If anyone did manage to play him last round for his first game back in the Big Bash, he's coming off an Ashes series to remember, where he was one of Australia's most consistent performers, and he picked up exactly where he left off in that return to the Big Bash last night against the Scorchers. In his first game back, he wasted no time making an impact, scoring 90 points thanks to that 71 runs, which included 7 fours and 2 sixes. It was a composed yet attacking innings that showed just how well he's seeing the ball right now. What I really love for Carey is his role. He's opening the batting, which immediately gives him that maximum opportunity to score big. Last season, Carey played just the 3 BBL games and averaged 31.7 points. So it doesn't scream pick me. But the one time he did open the batting, he returned 58 points when he scored 22 runs, but also contributed a run out and a stumping. And that highlights pretty much the upside that he brings when he's given time at the top of the order. And if he does potentially fail with the bat, he's got that safe floor that he's probably the best wicketkeeper in the country at the moment, and probably, if not the world. So you can almost bank on him finding ways to accumulate some fielding points. He didn't manage any keeping points against the Scorchers last night, but that was probably more of a product of the run fest that Adelaide Oval was, where the Scorchers only lost those 4 wickets. So with plenty of wicket-keeper batter options available, and Sammy Harper in still that red-hot form, as you mentioned, Stu, Carey might slide into that second choice bracket for many coaches, and that could be the perfect opportunity to jump on him as a bit of a pod, while his confidence and role are both at their peak. But I just wanted to throw a question to you guys. Are you potentially looking at playing both Harper and Carey this round, or are you going to split them across competitions? We can see they're both in the top 5 averaging batsmen. So yeah, what are your thoughts for this round?
What are you going to do, Dill?
In one competition, I've got them both in the side at the moment, and then they're split across the other two. And I think it's kind of hedging my bets a little bit. Obviously, Sammy Harper is in some unreal form, and Carey returning had a great knock to start. But I probably want to see a bit more sample size from Carey as well before I go guns blazing with him in all sides. Whereas, at least we've got quite a large sample size now from Sam Harper, and we sort of know what his floor and what his ceiling is. So, Harper's definitely one that I'm targeting more so than Carey, just based on the sample size at the moment.
So does that mean Sam Harper is actually the best wicketkeeper batsman in the country or the world?
In Big Bash, yes.
All right, enough jokes there on Sammy Harper. Dill, who are you targeting in the batsman lineup?
Yeah, look, my bet this week is going to be a massive point of difference. And I said that at the start of the show, that a lot of where I'm looking at the moment is to play some pods and hopefully get a bit of an advantage over a few people. So I'll preface this by saying there's plenty of risk involved with this option, and there's plenty of reasons why you maybe wouldn't want to play him. But in a round where I think a lot of coaches are going to chase that last round points and play Joshy Brown, who we are keen on, let's be honest. You will find out later on in the show that we do have him as one of our top batsmen for the round. I'm looking at pivoting though and running out Jake Fraser-McGurk. And look, I can just hear everyone collective groans right now in the chat and thinking, why on earth would you play Jake Fraser-McGurk? But please hear me out. I'm happy to have egg on my face at the end of this round if it doesn't come off, but it is a pod, remember. Look, he hasn't reached his supposed potential at all this season. And really, to be honest, he probably didn't reach that last season either, except for that one big game at the end of the season. But the thing for me is the Gades are travelling to NG, and if this game goes ahead tonight, there's plenty of opportunity for him to have a big game. And the Thunder have obviously had a season to forget. I think they've won one game all season, and I think from that, I'm looking at potentially watching them have probably the back end of this season and not do very well. They've already dropped Sammy Constas and are blaming him for some of their issues, and I really don't see it getting any better for the Thunder. And look, the Gades haven't had that much better of a season, but they're an opportunity to still make that top four with a couple of wins. I think they've got 3 games left. If they win all 3 games, they could easily make that top four. So they do have something to play for, and potentially this is where Jake Fraser-McGurk steps up for that side. And the Thunder have allowed the most GDS points to batsmen this season, so that's one of the keys that I'm targeting. They're allowing an average of 43.7 GDS points, which is massive. They've allowed plenty of runs to that top order as well. They're averaging 35 GDS points. 35 runs to both the first and second batsman, but it's actually been the man at first drop that's done all the damage against the Thunder. They're averaging 38 runs across the 8 games that they've played. So there's plenty of opportunity for Fraser-McGurk to come in at 3 and just take off and have that big game that we know that he has in him because we've seen it before. His season's sort of traveling along that same trajectory as it was last year, and this could be the game that he breaks out. The other thing for me, if the game does go ahead, NG's been super conducive for runs this season, where we've seen the second most batting points allowed at NG, only behind the Gabba, where we know there's plenty of runs to be had there as well. And as mentioned at the top of the show, the venue stats, the first innings is better than the second for batting average. So if the Gades are batting first, Jake Fraser-McGurk firms up. But look, I obviously see the chat and everyone is telling me to stop and don't do it. But I am going to run out Jake Fraser-McGurk in one of my competitions over Josh Brown as a big pot option. And if anyone joins me and wants to take the risk and hide behind the couch for half of the game, please join me.
Yeah, well, Dill says you're throwing. Mel says you're throwing. Dill DCB says to stop it, and then Izzy says don't do it. Some pretty big, strong names there in the comment section backing against you. But hey, you don't win tournaments without putting a risk or two together like that. We've got Skipper joining us as well. G'day, mate. How you doing, Skip? Good to see you getting involved in the cricket last couple of days. I've seen you in the Discord there. How's the team going? Hope you're having a bit of success. Dill, I can't do it with Jake Fraser-McGurk. It sounds like you might have lost a bet with Harley or something. And he's making you put him in one of your teams. Shout out to the great man, Harley. There's a few of you in the chat that might know who we're referring to there. All right, boys. My shout in the bat wicketkeeper position is that man Chowdhury from the Hurricanes. And he's quietly becoming a really reliable fantasy bat, particularly at Ninja Stadium, and the numbers back it up. 9 matches this season, he's averaging 52.86 GDS points. He scored 263 runs. He's at 24s, 14 sixes. And that just highlights his consistency and boundary upside. This matchup against the Heat only sweetened things. The Heat's bowlers have lacked a lot of runs consistently, particularly away from home and through the middle overs, where Chowdhury sort of dominates. He has an ability to sort of rotate the strike early before accelerating and finding the gap or clearing the fence. So he's well suited to exploit any frailties in the Heat bowling. What also caught my eye in the last match was his usage with the ball. I think he was given 3 random overs sort of toward the end there. I don't think he took a wicket, but I know the game was sort of done, but it just shows that the Canes are thinking of other ways to go about putting the end to, a difficult period, maybe changing a part-timer to Chowdhury, giving him the ball or seeing if he can just get something done. It obviously didn't pay off there, but it does tell me that the Hurricanes are thinking about different ways in which they can use people with the ball, and that was obviously pleasing to see. So that provides a bit of a role extension, I think, where we could see him throwing the ball again if the match is put to bed or if they're desperate and they just need something to happen, particularly if we're seeing the pitch do a little bit for the spinners. So, look, I think the batting should continue at a pretty high level in terms of upside. And if the bowling responsibility can stick or even grow, we could be looking at a genuine dual threat option emerging at the pointy end of the season, similar to Matty Renshaw, who's just about a must. Each week he's playing for the Heat. My only concern is the Heat bat first and they are the Heat away from home and they don't put a big total on the board. Does Chowdhury even get out there and have a bat? That's the danger there if he's coming out at 4 or 5 with Rian Ahmed moved up a little bit. Just not sure I can get there if they're batting second, which means I'd have to find a Heat player and probably Uzi and get him into my lineup in the first innings. But yeah, something to think about, and I'm really enjoying what he's producing this season.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider. Like you said, the Heat haven't been too great at putting totals on the board if batting first away from home this season, but I think with the Aussie boys coming back into the side, Aussie, Marnus, they kind of shore up the Heat's batting lineup. If they do bat first, you probably think they are at least to put a score on the board down there at Ninja, which is a pretty good batting track. So I think Chowdhury should be within a good chance to at least have a bat at the crease. And I'm with you. Like that bowl last game came out of absolute nowhere. I was sitting back watching Riley Meredith and Nathan Ellis tear the strikers apart with a new ball, and then Ellis just kind of put his feet up and just was like, I'm not going to bowl anymore. I've done my job. I'll give you the ball. So Chowdhury, you have a bowl. So it is potentially something they might be looking at for the back end of the tournament. And like you said, they might be trying to find some different ways to break partnerships moving into the finals if required. And it's good to know that he is still an option because we haven't seen him with the ball all year until last game. So if that role is to stick, then he becomes nearly a must play, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah, we saw him a little bit with the ball last season and a couple of seasons before that as well. It has surprised me that they haven't gone to him, but obviously Rashad is saying Rian Ahmed doing pretty good things with the ball there as well. There you go, Dill. Mel is saying if JFM goes well tonight, shows you a beer. Mel, what are we saying? What's well? Give us a target in terms of points. What's the over under for JFM? While you're doing that, Mel, while you're getting back to us. All right, boys, let's move on to the all-rounders on screen. Plenty of players in blue here. Here are the top averaging players. You've got Marcus Stoinis still at the top of that list with 78 points. Jackie Wildermuth still in form with 67. Matty Short, 63. Tommy Curran gets back into the top 6 for this round with 58. Liam Scott is a new face who's been doing really, really good things at Adelaide. And based on decimal points, is actually sitting just above Jamie Overton there in terms of the overall averages. Who would have thought? I think Jamie Overton, you've said a few times, is on your never again list. Two-parter, is that still the case? And then who's your all-rounder to target?
Well, I've been so keen on Jamie Overton pretty much all year. I think I've talked about him maybe 3 or 4 times, but after last night, he's on my never again list. He has his bowled, I think against the Scorchers in the game over there, he bowled 0 overs. In the last 2 games, he's bowled 2 overs. He's not getting 4 overs anymore. And with the bat, I don't think he's passed 15 since the first game of the season. So he's not in form with the bat. He comes into times where you think it's going to suit him in the power surge, and then he just finds a way to get out. and then he acts all frustrated that he hasn't done anything. And it's like, well, you had the opportunity. So he is on my never again list for the next 2 rounds, that's for sure. And that's why I'm going to be targeting someone. People are probably going to go a little bit like you, Dill, and moan and groan when I suggest this. And people are probably going to think Overton might be a better shout. But I'm going to go with Mitch Owen. And it feels like someone who's probably flying under the radar when you look at his season-long numbers. He's currently averaging that 32.9 points for the season with a higher score of 62, which has him ranked as a 21st best all-rounder overall. Now, once again, on the surface, those numbers don't scream must play, but we know exactly what Owen is capable of when everything clicks. We saw that ceiling last season, particularly against the Heat at the Gabba. In that matchup, Owen delivered one of his best all-round performances of the campaign, scoring 88 points thanks to his 44 runs, which included 1 4 and 6 sixes, while also chipping in with a wicket. That performance ranked as his second highest round score of the season and was a perfect example of how quickly he can rack up the points when he gets going. So while the Heat have been relatively solid against all-rounders this season, they've allowed just an average of 41.9 points, which is actually below the competition average. There is a clear vulnerability worth targeting. All-rounders opening the batting against the Heat have averaged 60.7 points, while the Heat have also allowed over 51.4 points on average to opening batters this season. So encouragingly, Owen has started to rediscover that explosiveness that we've become accustomed to last year. In his last 2 innings, he smashed 45 of 18 against the Thunder, which included those 2 4s and 5 6s, before following it up with that rapid 33 off just the 9 balls against the Strikers, featuring 2 4s and 4 6s. So we know he's got explosiveness, he's got the power game. The frustrating part for coaches is he hasn't really gone on with those starts and turned it into a genuine ceiling game. But on his day, Owen has one of the highest ceilings in the competition, and it generally feels like that breakout performance is only around the corner. And I think it potentially leading into finals, it could be on the way.
During the weather break on KO yesterday during the Sydney Sixers game, I don't know if many of you saw it, but they showed highlights of last year's final where Mitch Owen went absolutely berserk at Ninja Stadium. Or was it 100 odd off not many? Just reminding us all just how capable he was, and absolutely a reason why it's tough to fade him when he's capable of performing that well. We just haven't seen it consistently enough. And I know our good friend Pity is quietly cheering about a trade he easily won with me for a Mitch Owen All-Star. And as a result, I've had to put sort of Mitch Owen All-Star into my Challenger team just about every single week, and it's just not paying off. If I hadn't have done that trade, I wouldn't have had to force him into my team when he hasn't been going well, and I'll continue to do it. So Haz, I'm with you. Let's hope that he can get a monster score now when not many people are on him, but you and I certainly both will be. All right, Dill, we've got Mel saying 80 points, but Michael Cozzi saying, geez, your beer money's pretty safe at 80. Dill, we'll get your response to Mel now, and then we'll get through your all-rounder. By the time that's done, we may have some information about a bat flip.
Yeah, I think 80 is probably a pretty good sort of target to be set.
With the diamond card?
It's with the diamond multiplier. But it's a pretty good 50+ score. You get the bonus. You've obviously got some 4s and 6s in there. So that's obviously in his realm of possibilities. So I think an 80+ score as a pod will be a great option for me. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, Mel, 80+, and you're flying up to Queensland and shouting me a beer. That sounds good to me. Seems like I've got nothing to lose in that deal. So I'm on that for sure. Alrighty, let's jump into my all-rounder, and it's perfect timing. TCBCBBB has just asked Bo Webster as a cheeky pod, and that is perfect for me because that is exactly who I'm targeting. And I'm once again throwing out a mini Brodown showdown. I need redemption after Payne absolutely rolled Richardson last night in the previous Brodown showdown that Stu and I had with our bowling options. But I'm tipping Bo Webster had a big game against the Heat. And look, obviously, Has, you talked all about the all-rounders and their ability against the Heat, and that some of the numbers aren't as high, but as they get higher up in the order, they do quite well. And we've already seen a number of those test stars return and put on an absolute clinic. We've seen Marnus. We saw Alex Carey obviously come back. Steve Smith started to go well. And based on that rained out game that we did see, it looks like Webster could be coming in at first drop, which I think for me is just one of those ideal roles. We talked about it earlier in the season where Aaron Hardy potentially coming in at 3, also having some overs, is an ideal role. And I think for me, that's sort of where I see Webster potentially coming in. And for me, as I said, this ideal role, it means that he could potentially have a decent option with the bat and then maybe be the option, that 6th option with the ball. Last season, we saw Webster come out for the Stars at 3 in 3 games. And we know what their batting and bowling lineup is like, the Stars, and how convoluted their all-rounder options were. At 3, he averaged 38 runs for the Stars. Comparing that to when he came out at number 6 or 7, he only averaged 17. He also has that upside if he rolls his arm over. And again, based on the Canes lineup, I would probably expect Slug to come in as that 6th bowling option, maybe over the likes of even Chowdhury. Chowdhury, as we said, had that sort of random 3 overs. We know that Webster can bowl and that he can bowl reasonably well, and he's got some decent change up and change of pace, etc. So if we can see that in the game, I think there's plenty of opportunity. And look, the numbers sort of support them leaning more towards fast and medium pace. The Hurricanes have had 92 overs of fast medium pace versus only 61 overs of spin at Ninja this season. So there's definitely some upside there for Webster. And he bowled 13 overs last season for the Stars in his 7 games. And we know how convoluted, as I said, they are. And he took 4 wickets during that of his 13 overs. So he can take wickets as well. And one of those was a 3-wicket haul, which obviously you get that bonus. So as has mentioned, there's plenty of opportunity, but also some downside in terms of the Heat not allowing as many points to all-rounders. But we did see Stoinis come out at 3 and score 64 GDS points against the Heat in game 20, so earlier in the season. So obviously we've got some small sample sizes to go off, but again, a cheeky pod, I think, and a definite opportunity for anyone that maybe has had enough of Mitch Owen, you've had enough of Overton, maybe you want to back some of the class that Webster has, and that class coming back from that Ashes arena into the Big Bash arena. The Heat have given up 28 wickets to all-rounders as well across the 8 games, and we compare that to bowlers. Bowlers have only taken 20 wickets against them. So I think Slug can improve on that 40 GDS point average that he had from 1 game this season. That's why I'm going to lock him in as my second big pod of the round.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, actually. I do like Bo Webster, and obviously my pick, Mitch Owen, is probably who gets the overs with the ball. That probably dictates who wins that mini bro-down showdown. I just had a quick look at some stats for Mitch Owen. Mitch Owen's bowled the 8 overs this year, and he's collected 3 wickets. So we saw in the Sixers game, Webster did get an over at Steve Smith there before the game got washed out. So does that potentially mean that he has overtaken Mitch Owen in that medium pace role with the ball? Potentially, they might look to split the overs depending on conditions. But I think it probably comes down to, obviously, we know Owen has that really high ceiling, but we also know he's very susceptible at getting out probably in the first over as well. So Webster's probably got a safer floor, but I think Owen's definitely got that higher ceiling. Stu, who are you looking at? Once again, got to go either way.
No, I'm not going. You've both talked me into playing both of them, so I might have them both in separate squads now. I think you're right about probably Bo Webster being preferred with the ball. He can obviously bowl some medium pace, but his offies are outstanding as well. And depending on what the captain wants, he's definitely more likely to get something out of the pitch because he can bowl both varieties. I think we saw him bowl some off spin in the test matches and get a wicket or 2 as well. So yeah, look, I love both of them. I think I'm going to have both in some teams somehow, and that might be easier if tonight's game is going to be restricted whatsoever. I might fly through my all-rounder first, and we can spend some more time talking about the bat flip shortly, and then we'll get into the bowlers and call it a night and get to the TV screens and make some changes if we need to. So hang tight on the bat flip and the team lists if you get them in the chat, and we'll get them up on the screen shortly. But Manav, thanks for joining us, buddy. Quick question there about Michael Neser coming straight into the mix. Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And I've got a big asterisk on my all-rounder. That man is actually Jack Wildermuth for a bit of a bounce back, but that player becomes Michael Neser if he comes into the team. He's going to get a lot of responsibility with the ball. He was also someone who was getting a lot of batting opportunity as well, and being that explosive top order guy that just goes out there and has a big hit, and it doesn't really matter if he gets out or not. Jack Wildermuth obviously picked up that role this season with Michael Neser in the test frame, but yeah, so it's a bit of column A, bit of column B. If Michael Neser's named, he's a big in for me, but if he's not and they want to hold him back a game or two, which I don't think they will, but look, Jack Wildermuth still, to me, profiles as a pretty high upside all-rounder, still with plenty of risk, but just given that elite role at the top of the batting lineup, it's not always going to come off, but he reminds us time and time again that he can get things done. He gets to that 31 and typically gets out. We saw that already happen once this season. He actually managed to get beyond that 30 and got out before 100, but we do remember that big 100 he scored. Maybe the cheat code with Jack Wildermuth is only playing him at the Gabba, so playing him away from home might not be as reliable. So that might mean Michael Neser or a Bo Webster type is the better play there. But look, he's still averaging 66.5 GDS points, 215 runs, 16 fours, 14 sixes. So he's so aggressive at the top of the innings there in the power play with the field up. The concern, obviously, is a fair one. It's the bowling role. We saw him as a batsman only in the previous match there at the Gabba. He didn't get the bowl at all against the Thunder, and that immediately raises eyebrows for his selection as an all-rounder. But the game context certainly does matter there, and it probably won't be that likely in every single game moving forward, where the Heat sort of leaned really heavily into spin. I think they got through 12 or 13 overs of spin. I think Uzi wanted to get through the over rates nice and quickly because they were so far behind. And I think that's why we even saw Matty Renshaw, he got the 20th over, which is absolutely crazy for Renshaw owners. But yeah, look, from a fantasy lens, this is the classic role versus risk play. The batting position gives him a really strong ceiling, particularly if he gets through those first few overs. But the lack of guaranteed bowling obviously does cap his floor, particularly if Michael Neser does return like we're anticipating, and we should get some news on that Brisbane Heat lineup probably tomorrow. On Ninja Stadium, with his height, hitting profile and usage, is very much in play for me. We just need to monitor who they roll out in their 11. They might drop a bowler, which still gives him an opportunity with the ball. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see there. And thanks for that, Dill. I think Dill's just mentioned that he's averaging 79.5 at home and 53.5 away, which isn't awful, but certainly backs up that narrative of just how dominant he's been at the Gabba, at home, in front of friends and family on that much better batting wicket. So, yeah, I might lean into Neser or Bo Webster if I get cold feet there on Wildermuth.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, isn't it? The difference is there between his average at home and away, and then the potential addition of Neser as well. And probably we talked off air about Neser coming into the sort of that Tom Balkan role and having 3, potentially 4 overs. That probably takes off Wildermuth's appeal a little bit as well, and not having the ball, which you touched on there. Look, the Renegades have named their 11 for the side. I'm just putting it in there in the chat now. Brown, Seifert, Rizwan at wicketkeeper, Jake Fraser-McGurk at 4, which sort of throws my plans out a little bit. Jewel, Khan, Sutherland, Sandhu, Elliott, Zamps is back, and then Behrendorff as well. That I haven't seen the Thunder lineup yet. That hasn't been named, and I haven't seen anything around the bat flip. So I'm just waiting to hear who has won the bat flip and what they are doing. And hopefully we can find out whether it is going to go ahead based on the weather. The radar doesn't look too bad. But yeah, if anyone is in Sydney and they can sort of pop their head out the window and have a look and give us a bit of a shout and a breakdown of what that weather looks like, that would be wonderful. But so far, we've just got that Renegades team. So Do we want to continue, and then we might come back once we get some more information about the bat flip?
Yeah, let's do it. Maybe the social media guy or gal has gone off a little bit early there and posted the scheduled post before actually seeing if the game is going to go ahead with the bat flip. Keep us updated in the comment section, please, everyone. Let's move on to the top averaging bowlers available for this round. A one-hit wonder, Cam Boyce, back with a 57. Didn't do too much with the ball, was pretty impressive with the bat. He's got a top score of 50, and it was just one of those nights where he just slogged everything and got a pretty handy score. Gurinder Sandhu came back down to earth. I think a lot of coaches probably would have been disappointed by his poor return. He's still averaging above 50. Harris Ralph is as well with 51, slightly ahead of Pete Siddle there at 47, who just edges out Xavier Bartlett based on decimal points. But a pretty handy, I guess, 4 players in that list that I think will be pretty popular. I'm not sure many people will go to Boyce unless they just see he's sitting there at the top of the averages. But what are we saying? Who's your bowler to target this round, mate?
It's going to be Nathan Ellis, who, provided if he's named, I think he's someone I'll be keeping a very close eye on, obviously, when that Hurricane squad drops tomorrow. Ellis has been ultra consistent this season, even without producing that true ceiling game we know he's capable of. He's taken at least 1 wicket in every match, excluding just the one, which gives him a really reliable floor. For this season, Ellis is averaging 40.3 points, but the number increases to 53.5 when you filter for games at Ninja Stadium. And he hasn't dropped below 30, highlighting just how dependable he's been on that surface where his variations, his different control and accuracy really come into play. And we saw that in his most recent outing against the Strikers, where he finished with those outstanding figures of 2 for 7 from the 2 overs, including 8 dot balls, resulting in a tidy 48-point performance, despite that reduced workload where he gave the ball to Chowdhury instead of taking his final 2 overs. Ellis has also proven successful against the Heat in previous seasons. Last season, he delivered a 71-point performance off the back of a 3-wicket haul, showing he's more than capable of producing a ceiling score in this matchup. The big caveat, obviously, as I mentioned, is availability. Ellis was ruled out against the Sixers last round, so his return isn't guaranteed. With the Hurricanes having qualified for finals, they might tend to give him another game off, potentially. But make sure you stay across the team list and keep an eye on the GameDay Squad Discord before locking him in if you are keen on playing Ellis this round as the Hurricanes build towards their finals campaign.
Yeah, it seems like he was sort of being managed a little bit there, which is obviously very important to teams that are higher up there on the ladder, getting their best players fresh, particularly bowlers, coming into the end of the season where the games become more crucial, and particularly when the fixtures become knockout matches. I think, if he's named, he's always in contention for me to get a starting spot in his last match. He was obviously fantastic. I think you mentioned, 2 for 7. That's great. Yeah, I think if it was just a management type thing, he should be good to go. And if not, hopefully we'll find out some more news tomorrow when they do release their squads. Dale, any more information on bat flip, or do you want to get into your bowler?
I haven't got anything yet.
Me either.
Mel's just commented as well on Nathan Ellis. They interviewed him. He said he was being rested because of the short turnaround between games. So that tends to tell me that he probably will be named. But I guess, again, it's important to highlight the need to have a pivot ready to go. If he is named in the 14-man squad, but then not in the final 11, do you look to turn to someone like Riley Meredith or Billy Stanlake probably in his absence, or do you look to pivot somewhere else? So it's important to have that up your sleeve so you're not scrambling last minute. So don't forget to have that. Yeah, look, in terms of my bowler, rather than picking one bowler today to target, I'm going to debate 2 bowlers to determine which is the better option. And this is based on a bit of a theory that we've been running. And in particular, Stu, I'll give you the credit for this one. It's the 1 up, 1 down theory between Siddle and Ralph. And based on that, it's probably Siddle's turn to score big. Ralph's probably had his opportunity last game, and it's time for him to have a bit of a rest and Siddle to stand back up again. But look, I don't want to just go based on theories. So I had a look at the stats. So let's run through it. Ralph, he's had 8 matches. He's had 31 overs with the ball. He's taken 15 wickets, which includes 2 3-wicket hauls. He's had 66 dot balls, and his average from all GDS games, his GDS average from all games is 48.1. So it's different to what's on screen because the GDS average that you can access through their stats center only includes the top game from their double, doesn't include both of those games. So his average there is slightly down in all games played. Whereas Siddle has had 8 matches as well. He's also had 31 overs. He's taken 14 wickets. He's had 2 by 3-wicket hauls. He has had 78 dot balls, and his average is 1 less. His average is 47.1. So there really is absolutely nothing in it. When looking at individual games, the 1-up, 1-down theory is absolutely in full force. We saw early on Siddle take the 3, Ralph take 1. Then the following game, Ralph took 3, Siddle took 1. It just keeps going back and forward. I think there was one game in that double where they both had 47 points equally. And that was probably the only time that they've been even. But again, they're completely even. The one key difference, I guess, maybe is that Ralph could have the advantage because of earlier in the season, they played against the strikers where, of course, they're playing them this round. Ralph was the beneficiary in that game, and he took 3 wickets compared to Siddle's 1. However, when we start filtering by venue, they're at the MCG. Ralph's only averaging 44.6 GDS points, while Siddle's averaging 52.3 at MCG. So suffice to say, stats do not help at all. The only option is to probably follow that theory of 1-up, 1-down. And based on that, I'm going to back Siddle in for a big game against the strikers, who do allow the most GDS points to bowlers this season. So there is a world probably where you could play both Ralph and Siddle, particularly if this game doesn't go ahead or if you're nervous about this game being rained out. The strikers are averaging a huge 45.3 per player per game, which is 10 points better than any other team allowing to bowlers. So there's definite opportunity there for both. But yeah, look, purely based on your theory, Stu, I'm going to run out Siddle and hope that it's his turn to have a big game.
There you go. I love it. I'm glad to hear it's still paying off. It's still true. You watch the moment you really buy into it and put all your stock in one of them, it's going to come crumbling down, isn't it? Looking at my champion side, I've actually got both of them in there at the moment, maybe just as placeholders. So I'm not wasting a spot tonight just in case it doesn't go ahead. But yeah, if the Stars bowl first, that's when I really like them. Or if I think that they've got plenty of upside batting first and they're going to put on a monster score and can defend it, that's when those guys really cash in for those cheap wickets. Boys, I'm going to roll through my bowler nice and quickly now. So then we've got a bit of time to talk about weather or updates or bat flips, which I think might have just occurred. But we'll finish off the bowler list and then we'll get back to that and wrap up the show. But for me, yeah, Mel's mentioned it, but Zampa is back. And I think he might be going under the radar slightly, given that we just really haven't seen him a lot this season. He was in and then out and then in and then out. But look, the social media guys gone off a little bit early. They've named him in the side. The bat flip might have only just gotten underway. So it looks like the Thunder have won the flip and will bowl first. We'll get confirmation from that shortly. Not sure how that sits for me in terms of playing Zamps. I probably want to see him bowling in the first innings, but that's something I'll need to reconsider. I just think he's a really high impact option this round. And the numbers suggest he won't need much time to get going after a couple of matches off. He's only played the 2 games this season, averaging 45.5 GDS points. He's taken 3 wickets and bowled 16 dot balls in those 2 games. So highlights his ability to influence the game without a monster haul. He's got some really nice control through the middle overs, which makes him an elite spinner. And the dot ball pressure is exactly what drives some of those wicket-taking upside when the batsman wants to get after him and then plays a false shot. I think NG Stadium is going to be a huge tick for his skill set. It's going to be a little bit of a slower surface, although the batsman is still scoring plenty of points there. We've got some larger square boundaries, and the Oval has historically really favoured wrist spin. We haven't seen it as much this season, but someone like Adam Zampa is definitely going to get the most out of it. So his willingness to toss up the ball is what makes him so enticing. And when he can really get that 3 or 4 wicket haul, we've seen him do it countless times for the Aussies and also previous years in the Big Bash for the Stars as well. So from a fantasy perspective, the role is locked. He's the go-to spinner for the Gades when they want to break a partnership, where they want to tie an end down, when they want a player hitting big. They're not afraid to put him out there in the power play to force some false shots. So, yeah, if you're feeling a little bit risky and a little bit dangerous this evening, you want to update, you want to go with a leg spinner in the second innings, feel free. But yeah, I think his ownership's going to be really, really low, so that makes him a good pod. He's an alternative bowling option to a lot of other common or obvious plays for this round, which makes him a really nice pod. He'll be on a ground that amplifies his strengths. Clear multi-wicket upside written all over him. He's going to get a big bag at some point this season. Can it be tonight? Who knows? But yeah, he's a bit more of a pod for me rather than a go-to bowler.
Yeah, the thing for me, I guess, is that at NG so far this year, we've seen 30 wickets taken by the quicks versus only 7 taken by the spinners.
Yeah,
so
that's odd.
Although I agree with your analysis of the ground and the potential that Zampa has, that just has me a little bit concerned. In saying that, I'm still rolling him out in one of my squads because I am taking some risks with a couple of pods, because you're right. I think there's plenty of opportunity for him to take multiple wickets, and I think there's as much opportunity as ever. He obviously has had a bit of a rest and should be raring to go as well, and we'll want to just get that form back to where it's been in the past as well. There's a couple of different things going on here. Stu, you've just put it up on the screen. Melbourne Renegades won the toss and elected to bowl, from Michael Cozzi. So I'm just watching the live. Yeah, I'm just watching the live footage. They haven't said anything yet about the actual bat flip. They have named the side, and again, it's slightly different to what the social media people put on for the Renegades. Jake Fraser-McGurk is at 3, Rizwan at 4. That's the only change. The Thunder lineup is Jilks, Constis, Bancroft, Billings, Madison, Sams, David Willey, Chris Green, Andrews, Hadley, and Agar. So that's David Warner succumbing to that groin injury, I believe, that occurred during that run out the other day against the Heat, which, wowie, what a run out that was to watch that live. Was unreal from Mick Sweeney. So that's the major change there from the Thunder. So we just want to confirm, is he saying the Thunder have won the toss? So bear with us, just give us a couple of minutes. Does that mean, look, for me, it's overcast on the live screens at the moment. Are we still going to go ahead with some of those players, or are we happy in terms of our sort of the way we're going is to maybe fade all of this game and just load up on the rest of the games? Or are you happy to take a risk here and hope that they get at least 5 overs each and they get a game out of this?
I think we know what Haz is going to do. You want to tell us your strategy, mate?
Well, I forgot to mention it earlier, actually, and I was hoping that I'd get a chance to. So I decided to play it really safe last round and just completely avoid all hurricanes and sixes in the 2 comps that I'm prioritizing. So at the moment, before all of this, before we got onto the show, I have no Renegades or Thunders players in all my teams. I am going to monitor the situation for the next 15 minutes, but that's the way I'm leaning, because if we do get a 5-over game, obviously most of the players are probably only going to get maybe 1 over, max 2 overs, and they're not going to get many opportunities with the bat. So I know there's a lot of rain potentially around this week. If a game does go ahead, we could get an upper hand if other games might get washed out. But I think I'm probably looking at just fading this game completely at the moment.
Yeah, just looking at the radar, the little bits of rain that are around Sydney don't look like they're moving too much. It sort of looks like it's quite static. So that could be a good sign. Look, I will preface it by saying I'm not a weatherman. I'm just looking at exactly what BOM the app is showing me. So anyone at BOM that want to sponsor the show, please feel free to get in touch with us as well. We're happy to rep your brand. But yeah, it looks at the moment like it potentially might hold off. And I can confirm that the Thunder have won the bat flip and are fielding first. So Renegades are batting first. The lineup looks like Jake Fraser-McGurk in at 3, Rizwan at 4, and Rizwan keeping. So as I said before, I'm pretty keen on Jake Fraser-McGurk coming out at 3. and they're batting first, but sort of aligns with the stats there. Again, I will say it's a massive pod risk, so please do your own research.
All right, let's get through the rest of the show, and then we'll come back to the team list and have our final say about what we're doing. And that'll give us a bit of time to jump in front of the telly and make some last-minute changes depending on what we can see. How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds
all
good.
right. On screen is the What Are We round 13. That might be a typo from our editors there. Here's our consensus 11 for this upcoming round. We've got Sammy Harper and Alex Carey headlining the wicket keepers in the bat wicket keeper spot with Matty Renshaw. And first timer on this consensus 11 is Josh Brown. Stoinis, Wildermuth, Matt Short, Dan Sams. Wildermuth, obviously, with the asterisks. That'll be Michael Neser if named. We want that Brizzy Heat all-rounder in there. Interesting that we haven't said a lot about Dan Sams. I think he might be come into contention this evening if we can see a full 40-over game occurring. We got Siddle and Ralph, can't split him, and Nathan Ellis finishing out or rounding out the bowling lineup. Let's get into a Bro Down Showdown, boys, and Haz is rolling away with a victory. A nice 1-1-1 there for Matty Renshaw. Stoinis, 94, nice and close. Harris Ralph couldn't get it done. I don't think any bowlers would have got it done this round. Haz is still the only one to get a win with the bowler. So, Dill, let's spin a wheel and get some packs out to some listeners.
Yeah, unreal. You can see a bunch of names on screen on the wheel. We've got 6 potential winners today that all commented Haz and backed him in with Matty Renshaw. I think I had about 9 or 10 votes come my way with Stoinis, so unfortunate for all of those. I apologise. Alrighty, let's see. It also is the 10th show of the season, so we will be giving away some unique packs rather than a rare pack. So it's a good time to win as well, Haz.
Let's
spin the wheel. Good luck, all. Alrighty, and it is Bella GDS. Congrats, Bella.
Well done, Bella.
Great work. And we're going to jump across now. I might give my little screen a refresh just in case. So hopefully in a second we should be able to load some packs up. Haz, as always, do you want to take the first pack or the sack?
No, Bella can have the first as always.
Yes, Bella did.
Too many packs there, Dill. They can't all load at once.
Okay, alrighty. Obviously, once again, GDS is going to get everyone's changes in. Alrighty, as always, we've got a few unique, we've got a couple of unique All-Star packs. Obviously, there's no All-Stars left, but there's still and legends to get. So, Bella, this is your pack. Good luck. We kick it off with a Liam Haskett Platt. Follow it up with a Finn Allen Platt. Great to him. And then the final one, a Shawnee Abbott Platt, who is doing some unreal stuff with the ball over at the Sixers. Congrats. Make sure you hit us up on Discord for that. Already has the big one. Here we go.
Let's go.
Good luck, mate.
Come on, show us red.
Alrighty, kicking us off, we have Nathan McAndrew. We've got a Ben Menenti Platt, and it's a lot of Platts, and it is not a great pack at all. I apologise. Harry Dixon to finish us off.
That's woeful.
We got the red, just not the right kind of red, unfortunately. Let's get rid of that as quick as we can. Sorry, brother.
That's all right. At least Bella got the good pack.
Yep,
that's right.
The way.
There you go. You can see on screen the current standings we're sitting at. Is that right? 5, 2, and 2. Let me know if that's wrong.
That's right.
That's right.
That's correct. Yeah, of course it is, Haz. Yeah, 5, 2, and 2. Dylan and I, how many rounds we got left? Surely we can make a comeback. Maybe you and I need to team up and try to chase Haz down. If you want to vote for Haz again this week, he's got the all-rounder spot. He's going Matty Short. I've got the batter spot. I've gone Matt Renshaw. And then Dill has gone Harris Ralph with that 1 up, 1 down method. So just a reminder, if you want a chance at getting your name spun on that wheel spin, choose which bro you think is going to get the highest score from the player that they have selected. If you think Haz is going to win, just comment Haz. Me, comment Stu for Renshaw, or Dill, comment Dill for Harris Ralph. Alrighty. I saw on Crick Info a quick bit of weather information. At the moment, it's overcast. There's a 25% chance of rain until 7 p.m., which is it there 7 p.m. or ours? I'm not sure. Maybe that's now. But it does climb to 50%, which is still a coin flip, isn't it? A yes or a no. Hopefully we can dodge the weather and get a full game in. So far, so good. Preparations are on track for an on-time start. But like we saw in the Sydney Sixers game, they started just about on time, although the overhead conditions weren't great. They ran off after 5 and couldn't get back on. What are our thoughts, boys?
Yeah, well, I think, Dill, earlier you said that the bomb looks all right. I think for the Sixers game, it was meant to look pretty much clear as well, and it looked like it was clearing up, and then all of a sudden the rain returned. So I don't know if we can trust the bomb sometimes. Like, I know it is meant to be an accurate thing, but 50% chance, like you said, Stuart, honestly is just a coin flip. It's if you think it's going to rain, maybe you just avoid it, potentially. I don't know. I might just play those players in my pod side in Classic and do what I did last week and just play it safe in Contender and Challenger.
Dill, final words?
I'm going to risk it because I do need some positions, and I guess that there's also rain around in the next 2 games, so it could end up that we get no cricket at all this week. I am going to take a risk in my in one side where I'm going to play players just from this game, hope that they get a full match in, and then the other 2 games are rained out. So I'm just going to play a little bit of silly buggers with this and see if it comes off. I've got nothing to lose, so plenty to gain. So just a few different ways to go about the tactics this round. But I think for me, Mel's just touched on it. They said that the Clouds are looking like they're parting, so likely to get a full game. I'm not sure who they are. I'm hoping they're some weather experts. But, let's get a full game of cricket in.
Fingers crossed. All right, the votes are coming in. Skipper's going for Haz. Cozzie's going for Haz. So is Izzy. So is Mel. So is Maxi. Maxi's going for Stu. You beauty.
Good on you, Maxi.
And I've got TCB on my side as well. So Haz is looking to go maybe an unassailable 6-2-2 unless Matty Renshaw or Harris Ralph can get the job done. All right, fellas, anything more before we farewell and give ourselves 10 or so minutes to panic some more?
No, that's all from me. Good luck, everyone.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in once again, everyone. Hopefully, we can steer you into a couple of good selections for round 13. We'll catch you again on Thursday evening at the same time to preview round 14. Good luck. Let's pray that the weather gods are on our side again this week. Don't stress too much in the next 12 minutes, boys and girls. But good luck, everyone. As always, go the heat.